what is up? My name is Catherine and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a makeup tutorial based off of Beyonce's makeup look at the UK premiere of The Lion King. I saw this makeup and I just really loved it. It's so blown out and subtle and just absolutely beautiful, which like it's Beyonce, so of course it's beautiful because it's on her, but I just thought the makeup was so beautiful and you guys have been asking me to do like more blown out subtle makeup tutorials, so I thought that this would tie in perfectly with that sort of request. I know back in the day people used to do celebrity makeup tutorials on YouTube all the time and I've always thought that they were so much fun to watch. I don't look anything like Beyonce. I am not Beyonce. This is just for fun. This is just me admiring her makeup. But that being said, shout out to her makeup artist, Sir John. He does incredible work and thank you to him for another incredible Beyonce look. I think in general, celebrity makeup tends to shy away from like really trendy and harsh makeup, especially for these sorts of red carpet events. And I just kind of appreciate that more subtle makeup is making a comeback in general. I love myself a full beat, really colorful makeup, but I also just love that like, I'm gonna say blown out literally 80 times in this video, but I love blown out makeup looks. I hope you guys are excited about this video. If you are, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you are new here, I would love to have you subscribe. Hit that button down below. I would so appreciate it. And let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. All right, so I'm gonna get started with eyes and I'm gonna be priming with my Milani eyeshadow primer today. For my eyes, I'm going to be using my ColourPop I Think I Love You palette, but as you can see, this is a pretty basic neutral palette. So you can pretty much use any neutral palette for this, I would assume. This is just one of my favorites, both because of quality and just ease of use. So I'm starting out with the matte cream shade in here, which is this for reference. And I'm just using this right under my brow. Just want a little bit of a matte brow bone highlight. And I want to give something for everything else to blend into, since this is like a very blown out blended sort of look. I'm just going to take a clean brush, blend that out. Then for the crease and outer corners, I'm going to be using this light matte brown shade in here. This is a very basic matte brown. It's not too cool, not too warm. It's definitely like a medium to light brown. So I'm using a fluffy blending brush. The one that I have is the AOA Studio E127. Just use your favorite, absolutely fluffiest eyeshadow brush because we want everything super blended. By the way, I do have lash extensions on right now, so that does just like affect how everything looks. I won't be doing any false lashes or anything, but if you're like looking at me and you're like, it looks like you already have makeup on, like I basically do. So I'm just gently putting this into the crease and outer corners. Whenever you want a very blended look, it's always best to hold your brush by the end. It doesn't give you like a whole lot of control over the brush and you can't use a lot of pressure, which is how you get that like very blended look. So I'm just doing little circles all the way up the crease and into the outer corner and everything. Fantastic. You basically want to just keep blending until you can't really tell where the brown begins and the highlight ends. It kind of just fades seamlessly together. So since this is a halo eye, we do want that little bit of depth and definition in the outer corners. So I'm going into the darker brown in this palette, which is just slightly darker. I'd still classify this as a medium brown, maybe a medium to dark brown. It does lean a little bit on the warm side. And this is a Luxie 229 brush that came in a boxy charm. So it's like a little small, but still has that like rounded and still has fluff to it. So it's good for applying shadow in a precise area where you still want it to be very blended out. So I'm just starting with the outer corner. Again, we're holding the brush by the end. And I kind of do side to side motions when I'm doing a halo eye and I'm getting that inner and outer corner. Just always find that that works best. So I get that into the inner and outer, and then when I kind of get into that crease, that's when I do those more circular motions. Again, we're holding the brush by the end. So we're gonna do a little extra blending in just a minute, but when I want like a very subtle look, I don't close the halo because sometimes it can just make the eyelids look a little droopy, and Beyonce's eyelids don't look droopy, so we're not doing that. So once that's placed how we want, I'm just gonna take that big fluffy AOA Studio brush from earlier, and I'm just gonna swirl those edges even more. I'm not picking up any more product, and as I swirl, I'm just kind of swirling across. So it's bringing that depth across ever so slightly, but not a lot. And when you're doing looks like this, it's just always important to remember that less is more, and you can always add more. You can always add more depth, always up the drama of the look just a little bit, but it's a lot harder to take shadow away. You can do it. You can always blend setting powder over top. Like, there are ways to tone it down if you go overboard, but it's a lot easier to not have to do that and to just add more if you feel you need more. And the center of the halo is this very pretty gold. It's an almost yellowy gold, but it's not quite like a Fenty Trophy Wife level of yellow. So I'm gonna be using this gold shade from the palette, not this one. This is more of your classic to champagne sort of gold. And then we're gonna be going over top of it with a shadow topper as well to really bring out that glittery vibe that she has going on with hers. So even though this isn't really like a halo cut crease, there is still just that slight line. So I'm using my Alamar Cosmetics little like flat concealer brush, which is small, flat, and has that like round sort of paddle shape. So it's really good for placing shadow in a cut crease shape, but without that like really tough definition that a cut crease sometimes has. So I'm just gently swiping this into center of the lid, and I'm kind of like using that more flat, thin edge to put that line up there, and then I'm just swiping it down through the center of the lid. And then I'm just taking that Luxie brush, not adding any more product, and I'm just going back and forth. With Beyoncé, it almost looks like the shimmer goes across the entire lid, like there's still bits of shimmer all the way in the inner and outer corner, even though the actual gold is only on the center of the lid. So don't be afraid to just really blend back and forth. And I'm just gonna add some more of the gold because I feel like the gold is taken out a little further into the inner and outer corner with her look than what I have right now. And to really emphasize that glitter texture and the more yellowy gold aspect of the center of the lid, I'm going to be using a Stila Glitter and Glow liquid eyeshadow. So this is the shade Gold Goddess. And I really wiped off the doe foot on this, so there's not a lot there. And I'm just dabbing this right on that center. And I'm tapping it out with my finger. And she does have just a little bit of liner on, so I'm gonna use my Physicians Formula Eye Booster liquid liner and just like literally along the lash line. It's not in any type of winged shape or anything. And I'm just taking a very flat liner brush from Alamar Cosmetics, going into the matte black in this palette. And I'm just gonna press that up along that liner. So that's it for the upper lid. We might do some touch-ups once we finish everything else, but now it's time for the face. So her face isn't really insanely dewy or insanely matte, but I do want that like nice glow from within, so I am going to use a hydrating primer today, especially because my skin is feeling a little on the dry side. So I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. So I'm going to be using my Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation mixed with just a teeny bit of my e.l.f. Glow Lotion to help sheer it out and just give a little bit more of a glow than how it would look on its own. So that's about the ratio. And I'm using my biggest, fluffiest sponge, which you have seen many times on this channel. And I'm just blending this all the way down my neck. I literally like got a spray tan yesterday and haven't washed the like guide stuff off yet, except for on my face. So I'm looking a little darker than I'll actually be looking once I take a shower and my foundation doesn't match. And for concealer, I'm going to use a little dot of the Too Faced Born This Way concealer and a little dot of my Flower Beauty Light Illusion concealer. So just to give me some good coverage and a nice glow. So we want our skin to look nice and healthy. And I'm gonna set with the CoverGirl Professional Clean Loose Powder. So I very, very, very rarely actually set my whole face, but I'm going to today. Because if you were going to an important event like a premiere, you need your makeup to last all night. So I'm setting my under eye with my sponge. And then I'm taking a fluffy powder brush and dipping that in there, tapping it off, and just very, very lightly tapping that across my whole face. And because this is a very finely milled powder and because it has just a little bit of a sheen to it, it doesn't look powdery or cakey on the skin, it still just has a nice little glow to it. And now before I do the rest of my face, I'm just gonna set to let that powder really set into the skin and add just a little bit of moisture. So her brows are also like not ultra defined, nothing really super dark. So I'm just gonna do pencil and a little bit of gel. My favorite brow pencil is the e.l.f. brow pencil, and everybody's brow shape is different. I'm not gonna try to shape my brows like hers or anything. Just doing little strokes like how I would normally shape my brows. I'm using a brown brow gel. This one's from Lime Crime. It's their bushy brow. And I'm just kind of brushing upwards with it to give that full and fluffy look. For her lower lashes, there's a little bit of black right like along her lash line, and then it's just the teensiest bit of brown as well. So I don't want to go overboard with the black eyeshadow, so I'm just taking the same brush that we kind of blended out that top liner with, not adding any new product, and running it along there. And I'm taking this really teensy little round Luxie brush. This is from the Gilded Eye set. It's the 141. And I'm going into the light brown shade that we used. And I'm running that over top of that black. It looks like her inner eye highlight is super subtle, if she even has it at all. So I'm just going into that matte cream shade and plopping that on the inner eye. So we have a little bit of dimension, but there's no like, bam, there's your inner eye highlight, you know what I mean? So looking at her face, there's no real place where you're like, oh, that's where the highlight is, and that's where the blush is, and that's where the bronzer is. It's all extremely, extremely subtle. Like if anything, there's a little bit on the nose. So we're gonna use very subtle highlight, very subtle blush, very subtle bronzer. For the highlight, I'm using a big brush. This is a Morphe brush from their Complexion Goals set. And I'm actually using a gold highlight, which is also rare for me, but I find it'll be a little more subtle. So this is from Pixi. It's their Glowy Gossamer Duo, and it's the shade Delicate Dew. I'm using the gold one. And I swirled the whole brush in there, but I tapped it off. Since this is more of a cream, it's not gonna pick up a whole lot. And I'm doing the same like blending eyeshadow thing where you hold it by the end. And I'm just swirling it over my cheeks, up into my temples. And like, see how that's adding glow, but you're not like looking at my skin and you're like, there's the line of highlight. For blush, I'm taking my favorite BH Cosmetics V2 face brush, which is a giant, fluffy, like very, very soft, sort of flimsy brush. And I'm going into my Tarte Exposed blush. And this is like my most subtle blush. So you can really get a lot on there actually without it looking too pigmented on the face. And I'm just swiping that onto my cheekbones. And for bronzer, I'm using the same brush because multi-purposing is the best. And I'm going into my Pixi Glow Cake and swirling that into the bronze shade. And it's okay if a little bit of the blush gets on there because we're kind of just applying that over the blush, to be honest. Big swirly, swirly motions. All right, and we're just gonna set that down. And her lips are a very pinky nude, so what looks like a pinky nude on you is gonna be different than it looks like a pinky nude on someone else. So just like use your best judgment, use what you own. I'm gonna line my lips with this Essence lip liner. Let's see, this is the shade In the Nude. Perfect. So her lips look like they're a little overlined, like just the absolute slightest. I really, really don't like that look on myself, so I'm not gonna do that. It looks like she has a very creamy lipstick on, so I'm going to use my ColourPop Lippy Sticks in Oh Snap. And I'm actually gonna layer that with one that's just slightly more pink called Bound. I'm just gonna kind of dab that. And her lipstick looks super, 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 super creamy. So to really drive that in, I'm gonna use my NYX Intense Butter Gloss in the shade Tres Leches and go over all that. All right, and this is the final look of my Beyoncé Lion King premiere inspired makeup tutorial. This was really fun to do. It kind of got me to do a completely different type of makeup tutorial than I would typically do on my channel, and it's just kind of fun to emulate a celebrity makeup look, even if you look nothing like that celebrity. Beyonce's beautiful and she could probably do like the ugliest makeup in the world and still look amazing, but this was just really, really pretty makeup and I wanted to do a look on it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and let me know down below if this is the type of video you'd like to see me continue to do in the future. Feel free to like tag me in celebrity makeup looks on Instagram if you want to see me do a video on them. I would absolutely love to do that. And thank you for watching. Hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye.